Al-Baṣīrah actually has three levels. من استكملها فقد استكمل البصيرة. So whoever completes these three levels of al-Baṣīrah, then he has completed it. بصيرة في الأسماء والصفات وبصيرة في الأمر والنهي وبصيرة في الوعد والوعيد. So al-Baṣīrah, sure knowledge, insight, then it applies to these three fields of knowledge. It is knowledge of Allah and His names and attributes, and it is knowledge of His command and His prohibition, and it is knowledge of His threat and His promise. In essence, this covers the whole of the religion. Knowledge of your Lord, who you are worshipping, knowledge of His religion, the command and the prohibition, and knowledge of the reward and punishment in the hereafter, which is His threat and His promise. So a person having baṣīrah, then it is in these three areas. So then he goes on to explain in a bit more detail. He says, as for the first one, فَالْبَصِيرَةِ فِي الْأَسْمَاءِ وَالصِّفَاتِ, what does this entail? How do you know that you have al-Baṣīrah in the topic of Allah's names and attributes? Right? So we have to begin from this stage first. He says, أَلَّا يَتَأَثَّرْ إِيمَانُكَ بِشُبْهَةٍ تعارض ما وصف الله به نفسه ووصفه به رسوله بل تكون الشبه المعارضة لذلك عندك بمنزلة الشبه والشكوك في وجود الله فكلاهما سواء في البطلان عند أهل البصائر. Right, so he says, having baṣīrah, having insight and sure knowledge in Allah's names and attributes, it is that you are not affected. Your iman in Allah's names and attributes is not affected at all by any doubt, by any misconception which is presented against what Allah has described Himself with, what His messenger has described Him with. Rather, if there are any doubts which are presented to you regarding Allah's names and attributes, meaning here, meaning from the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, the Asha'ira, the Ahlul Kalam, the Mutafalsifa, the philosophers, and beyond them, the Yahud and the Nasara, everyone who speaks upon jahl, upon ignorance and dhulm and oppression with respect to Allah and His names and attributes, and these shubuhat, they come to you, then al-Baṣīrah, having al-Baṣīrah in this level, is that these shubuhat, that you are not affected at all in anything. They mean absolutely nothing to you. They do not affect you because of your insight in this topic. Rather, he says, these doubts, when they come to you, these doubts are the same as if these doubts came to you about the existence of Allah. Just as you have no doubt at all and you pay no attention to anything that relates to the doubts that relate to Allah's existence, then likewise, any shubuhat that come to you regarding His names and attributes, you treat them the same as if they are doubts regarding Allah's existence Himself. So he then goes on to say, بل تكون الشبه المعارضة لذلك عندك بمنزلة الشبه والشكوك في وجود الله فكلاهما سواء في البطلان عند أهل البصائر. So we already covered that. Then he says, وأقض هذا أن يشهد قلبك الرب تبارك وتعالى مستويا على عرشه. So now he is explaining belief in Allah and the Lord that we believe in and what our hearts witness, right? With the vision of the hearts, not the eyes, the vision of the hearts. So he says that your heart, what is your heart? A Lord blessed and exalted who is ascended above His throne. متكلما بأمره ونهيه, a Lord that is commanding and prohibiting. He is speaking with His command and His prohibition. He's commanding and prohibiting His servants. بصيرا بحركات العالم علويه وسفليه وأشخاصه وذواته. one who sees, he's actually seeing all motions and movements in the world, whether above or whether below, whether, all individuals and all essences therein. So your heart is witnessing a Lord who's actually seeing every single motion of every person, of every creature, the people of disbelief, the Yahud, the Nasara, everyone, the believers, the hypocrites, every creature, every motion, every rest, Allah is watching all of that. And this is what our heart is witnessing, that this is a Lord who's doing this. سَمِيعًا لِأَصْوَاتِهِمْ, listening to all of their voices, every single voice on this dunya. Whoever is saying, whatever he's saying, Allah is listening to that. رَقِيبًا عَلَى ضَمَائِرِهِمْ وَأَسْرَارِهِمْ, that he is fully aware and watchful over what is in their hearts, what they're concealing in their hearts and their secrets. وَأَمْرُ الْمَمَالِكِ تَحْتَ تَدْبِيرِهِ, and the affair of all of his slaves, it is under his regulation and control. نَازِلٌ مِنْ عِنْدِهِ وَسَائِدٌ إِلَيْهِ. Right? So his command, meaning his tadbir, that by which he is regulating and controlling his creatures, his creation, his servants, then it ascends to him and it descends down from him and it ascends to him. وَأَمْلَاكُهُ بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ تُنَفِّذُ أَوَامِرَهُ فِي أَقْطَارِ الْمَمَالِكِ. And his angels, they are in front of him and they come and they execute his commands in all regions of his dominions. موصوفا بصفات الكمال, Allah is described with perfect attributes. منعوتا بنعوت الجلال, he's described with the most lofty and beautiful descriptions. منزها عن العيوب والنقائص والمثال, Allah is free and exonerated from uyub, shortcomings, naqais, deficiencies, والمثال, any similitudes and likenesses. هو كما وصف نفسه في كتابه وفوق ما يصفه به خلقه, that he is as he described himself in his book, and he is beyond what his creation described him with. حي لا يموت, he is the ever living that does not die. قيوم لا ينام, he is the self-subsisting one who sustains everything besides him, who never sleeps. عليم لا يخفى عليه مثقال ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض, he is the all-knowing for whom not even an atom is hidden from him in the heavens nor in the earth. بصير يرى دبيب النملة السوداء على الصخرة السماء في ليلة الظلماء, he sees the small black ant or insect on the black rock in the dark night. سميع يسمع ضجيج الأصوات, so he's hearing, he's all of the voices. باختلاف اللغات, no matter what that language is, he hears all languages. ألا تفنن الحاجات تمت كلماته صدقا وعدلا, so his words have been perfected in truthfulness and in justice. Allah's words, they are true and they are just. So his words are perfected in that respect. They have perfection in the truth, in the truthfulness, and in the justice that emanates from them. فَجَلَّتْ صِفَاتُهُ, so lofty be his attributes from being analogized for with the attributes of his creation, in resemblance or in likeness. وَتَعَالَتْ ذَاتُهُ أَن تُشْبِهَ شَيْئًا مِنَ الذَّوَاتِ أَصْلًا, and lofty and exalted is his essence from resembling anything from the created essences. وَوَسِعَتْ الْخَلِيقَةَ أَفْعَالُهُ عَدْلًا وَحِكْمَةً وَرَحْمَةً وَإِحْسَانًا وَفَضْلًا. So Allah encompasses all of his creatures by way of his actions. His actions are just, and they are wise, and they are merciful, and they are benevolent, and they are bountiful. Right? So meaning, all of Allah's actions and dealings with His creation, Allah encompasses all of His creation through these attributes. Everything is just, everything is wise, everything is merciful, everything is benevolence on His behalf, everything is bountiful from Him. Lahul khalq wal amr. To Allah belongs the creation and the command. So He created, He gave everything its form, He gave everything its attributes, He gave everything its actions. Then He commanded with commands and prohibitions and a law which He commands. وَلَهُ النَّعْمَةُ وَلَهُ النِّعْمَةُ وَالْفَضْلُ. To Him belongs the bounty, the favor and the bounty. وَلَهُ الْمُلْكُ وَالْحَمْدُ. To Him belongs the dominion and the praise. And al-majd wa-thana, different words meaning praise. He is the first. أول ليس قبله شيء, before whom there is none. The last. آخر ليس بعده شيء, after whom there is none. ظاهر ليس فوقه شيء. He is the uppermost, above whom there is none. باطن ليس دونه شيء. He is the nearmost. There is nothing closer to His creation than Him, meaning in His knowledge, His hearing, His seeing. And أسماؤه كلها أسماء مدح وحمد وثناء وتمجيد. All of His names, they are names of praise, hamd, thana, all different words meaning praise and glorification. ولذلك كانت حسنى. This is why they are husna. وصفاته كلها صفات كمال ونعوته نعوت جلال. And His attributes and His descriptions, all of them are attributes and descriptions of either perfection or loftiness. وأفعاله كلها حكمة ورحمة ومصلحة وعدل. And all of His actions, they are mercy, they are wisdom, they are beneficial, and they are justice. كل شيء من مخلوقاته دال عليه. Every single thing from His creation actually points to His existence. Everything is a proof for His existence. ومرشد لمن رآه بعين البصيرة إليه. And they direct any person who looks with this vision of insight, all things direct him to Him, meaning to Allah. لم يخلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما باطلا ولا ترك الإنسان صدى عاقلا بل خلق الخلق لقيام توحيده وعبادته. So He did not create the heavens and the earth and what is between them in vain, in falsehood. Nor did He leave man without purpose, vacant without purpose. Rather, He created the creation for the establishment of His tawheed and His worship. And then He showered His favors upon them. He showered His favors upon the creation that they may reach Him by way of gratitude, and that He may give them increase. He may give them increase in His favors and in His nobility upon them. تعرف إلى عباده بأنواع التعرفات. Allah made Himself known to His servants through a variety of different means by which they can know Him. وَصَرَّفَ لَهُمُ الْآيَاتِ. Then He made all of the signs apparent to them. وَنَوَّعَ لَهُمُ الدَّلَالَاتِ. And He varied the different ways in which His creation points to Him. وَدَعَاهُمْ إِلَى مَحَبَّتِهِ مِنْ جَمِيعِ الْأَبْوَابِ. Then He directed them to love Him through all the different ways and means. وَمَدَّ وَبَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُمْ مِنْ أَحْدِهِ أَقْوَى الْأَسْبَابِ. Then He extended between Himself and them all the strongest ways and means. فَأَتَمَّ عَلَيْهِمْ نِعَمَهُ السَّابِغَةِ. So He showered them with all of His favors. وَأَقَامَ عَلَيْهِمْ حُجَّةَ الْبَالِغَةِ. He established a far-reaching proof upon them by way of His messengers and books. أَفَاضَ عَلَيْهِمُ النِّعْمَةِ وَكَتَبَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ وَضَمَّنَ الْكِتَابَ الَّذِي كَتَبَهُ أَنَّ رَحْمَتَهُ تَغْلِبُ غَضَبَهُ. Right, so He showered His favors upon them, and He wrote upon Himself mercy, and He included in the book which He wrote with Himself that His mercy overwhelms His punishment. Right, now all of this that we described is lengthy and it's detailed, but this is the baṣīrah of the heart, that this is the Lord that he sees. Right? And there cannot be any baṣīrah without having baṣīrah about the Lord that one is traveling to on the journey. So a person has to reflect upon all of this, that this is the Lord that he is worshipping. This is al-baṣīrah in al-asma, in the names and attributes. And again, we have to contrast this between this is knowledge of Allah, his names and attributes. Compare that to what is with the Yahud and the Nasara and the Hindus and all other. What are they seeing and what are they worshipping? Right? It is dalal, it is misguidance, and we could delve into that, but we'll move on. So this is the first type of baṣīrah that a servant must have at the starting point of the journey, which is the Lord that he's worshipping, and he's got to be just like he has got to see with the vision of the eye the paradise and the hellfire and the resurrection until it is as if he is seeing it in front of him. Then likewise, the vision, what the heart sees of the Lord that he's worshipping, as has come in the Quran and the Sunnah. Now the second type of baṣīrah is fil amri wal nahi, is in Allah's command and prohibition. So we must be insightful, knowledgeable of what Allah has commanded and what he has prohibited. So he says, what does al-baṣīrah mean in this respect? وهي تجريده عن المعارضة بتأويل أو تقليد أو هوى فلا يقوم بقلبه شبهة تعارض العلم بأمر الله ونهيه ولا شهوة تمنع من تنفيذه وامتثاله والأخذ به ولا تقليد يزيحه عن بذل الجهد في تلقي الأحكام من مشكات النصوص. Right, so al-baṣīrah, what does it mean to have al-baṣīrah in relation to the command and the prohibition? It means that you must strip yourself and be free of harboring any opposition to the commands and prohibitions by either a ta'wil, an interpretation, a faulty interpretation, or taqleed, blindly following somebody which prevents you from reaching the actual command or prohibition, meaning the true, what is the truth in that thing. So you blindly follow, that becomes an obstacle. So you free yourself and you do not fall into taqleed or hawa, or some sort of desire that you have in you that prevents you from the command and the prohibition. So having baṣīrah means to be free of all these things. Ta'wil, faulty interpretation, taqleed, or a hawa. فَلَا يَقُومُ بِقَلْبِهِ شُبْحَةٌ تُعَارِضُ الْعِلْمِ بِأَمْرِ اللَّهِ وَنَهِيهِ. Right? So this is as far as knowledge is concerned, right? What comes in between you, your knowledge, and your knowledge being correct in relation to what Allah actually commanded and prohibited. What is halal, what is haram, what is wajib, what comes in between you? Three things can come in between you. It can be a faulty interpretation, a ta'wil. It can be taqleed, blindly following somebody. Or it can be a hawa, a desire in yourself. Right? So these three things, they are obstacles to having baṣīrah as it relates to the mere knowledge of what is halal, haram, wajib, haram, right? The rulings. These three things, they interfere with your knowledge of what Allah commanded, prohibited. And then also, وَلَا شُبْهَ تَمْنَعُ مِن تَنْفِيذِهِ وَامْتِثَالِهِ. Likewise, there must not be any shubha when it comes to the actual implementation, performing it and implementing it and taking it. So there's no taqleed that prevents him from acting upon that, meaning he's taqleed to some other person's view or something. So there's no taqleed that prevents him from expending the efforts in taking these rulings from the fountain or from the lamp of the texts. Right? So this is what it means to have baṣīrah in the command and the prohibition. that your knowledge is not compromised, that your knowledge of what is halal, haram, wajib, and so on and so forth, that it is as Allah revealed it to be, so that you have sure insight and sure knowledge. And then the third, which is al-baṣīrah fi al-wa'd wal-wa'id, وهي أن تشهد قيام الله تعالى على كل نفس بما كسبت في الخير والشر عاجلا وأجلا في دار العمل ودار الجزاء وأن ذلك هو موجب إلهيته وربوبيته وعدله وحكمته. So the third one now is that we must have baṣīrah, sure knowledge, insight into His threat and promise, which is our knowledge that we witness with our hearts that Allah the Exalted, that He is watching over every soul. He knows what every soul is earning of good and evil in this life, and ajilan wa ajilan, whether it's now or whether it's deferred, whether in the abode of action in this world or the abode of recompense in the hereafter. Right? And that this is from the necessities of Allah's uluhiyyah, His rububiyyah, His justice and His wisdom. Right? So the threat and the promise and the punishment and the reward, all of this, that we have baṣīrah in that this is something necessitated by Allah's uluhiyyah, rububiyyah, His justice and His wisdom. So these three levels of al-baṣīrah is what a believer must have at the beginning of the journey. So follow the steps. The first is al-yaqdha. We're going to come to that in a bit more detail. Al-yaqdha, just that something that scares you and makes you fearful and makes you alert and awake, that something has to, you need to seriously go on this journey to Allah. That leads you to al-azam and al-fikrah. Al-azam is now to have that firm, solid determination. Al-fikrah is now to engage the thought process in knowing the details of how do I embark upon this journey. And so when that person starts engaging in that thought process, it leads him first of all to al-baṣīrah. Al-baṣīrah is to have, you've got to start from the starting point of sure, certain knowledge. It's got to start from al-baṣīrah. What does the al-baṣīrah refer to? Ibn al-Qayyim explained that it relates to Allah's names and attributes and His command and prohibition and al-wa'd wal-wa'id, His threat, His promise and His threat. Okay, still on al-baṣīrah, Ibn al-Qayyim continues now and he quotes from Sahib al-Manazil, which is the author of Manazil al-Sa'irin, al-Harawi, rahimahullah, and he now presents us another